Hey guys, welcome to day 42 of the carnivore journey. And we are trying to get to 90 days as sort of just a benchmark, just to kind of see how the the carnivore diet, how it does. So again, is this a beef, butter, bacon, egg challenge? Not necessarily. I mean, I wanted to sort of challenge myself to 90 days of carnivore, sticking as close to beef, butter, bacon, and eggs as possible. However, along the way, like I said, I have gone dirty at times. And here this past weekend has been no exception. So a little bit of a confession, guys, I kind of fell down a hole where I decided to have chips and dip. I got caught up in, the birthday spirit of my wife this weekend. Her birthday's this weekend. Well, yesterday, but it's her birthday weekend, sometimes a birthday week, sometimes a birthday month. Okay, so you know what I mean. So it's the birthday weekend. She's been, making exceptions for herself. And she's like, hey, it's the weekend. It's my birthday, my birthday weekend. And so I had some chips and dip, and for dinner I had some enchiladas. So all right, so let me talk about getting through temptations. Okay, temptations are really, really tough. Like I said, if you live without other garbage in the house, it's easier. If I could just throw out everything that had sugar, carbs, if I could just clear out everything, or just at least hold on to it for backup food or something, like all the canned stuff, and like emergency food. But temptation it's really tough. Okay, for some. For me it is. I mean, you might be amazing at it. You might be able to easily resist stuff. I'm at day 42, and sometimes it's a challenge because I'm around it all the time. So it is extremely difficult for somebody who was very deeply addicted to sugar and carbs. I mean, I love food. My wife wanted enchiladas tonight. Let me tell you, for those of you that may not remember from another video, I love my tacos and enchiladas. Okay. I love them. I've had a major love. They're some of my favorite foods of all time. And I love tacos and even enchiladas so much that I have spent the last 20 years like making my own meat, like mixture, like my own, perfecting my own little recipe. So it's been tough. It's been tough tonight. So let's start with the chips and dip. So I stayed up last night, and I stayed up till like, I don't know, 6 in the morning, like just something. I stayed up all night. I've been doing that a lot. But somewhere like 4 or 5 in the morning, I don't even remember when it was, I just was like, man, I want some chips and salsa, or chips and dip, not salsa. I used to make killer salsa too. But I was like, I want some chips and dip. I was just craving chips and dip. So what I did was I tried to hurry up and get inventive, because I don't want to fall off the carnivore wagon. I really don't. I don't want to disappoint myself. I don't want to disappoint you guys. I don't want to fall off the carnivore wagon. So what I did was I took a stick of butter. I took a block of cream cheese, melted the butter, and then I browned the butter, added the cream cheese. For those of you that may sounds familiar, this is also the beginning to a steak sauce that you can do. But this time I did the butter, I browned it, and then I melted the cream cheese. And instead of using the stick wand to kind of blend it, which I kind of regret, but I used a whisk and whisked it really good, got it into like a nice cream sauce. But looking back on it, I'm going to use the stick blender again. I just didn't want to get it out last night. It was like 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. or something like that. I didn't want to, my son was sleeping. My wife was still streaming, so she was awake. But I just didn't really want to break out the stick blender at that time of night. So I did it with a whisk. I added some garlic, and I added a pretty good amount of Frank's Red Hot sauce. So I actually made this buffalo cheese dip. All right, I'm going to show you a picture right here. You can see right here. Now, listen, I took this picture. Keep in mind, I took this picture like after I started eating it. I was like dipping the pork rinds into the sauce. And I was like, you know what? I better get a picture just so I can show you guys when I do my vlog. So I took a picture for you guys so you could see exactly what it is. Also, so yes, I did have some chips and salsa. Keep it within that carnivore box. A little dirty, but I did it, so I made it through that craving without breaking into the real chips and having some real dip that we have in the house. So enchiladas. So I made enchiladas like I normally do. I have a recipe that I wrote down. I've kind of scribbled and perfected over the few years that I've started doing enchiladas. And so I followed that to the T. But I made a special batch for me. And so what mine was, and I actually like this a lot. This actually came out really good. So if you guys wanted if you really like Mexican like me and you're just like, man, I'm never going to have Mexican again, try not to think like that, because that is dangerous thoughts. Like, oh, I'm never going to have this again. I'm never going to have that again. It should be like, hey, I'm never going to have cocaine again. I'm never going to have bad drugs. I'm never going to have bad alcohol. You know what I mean? Like, that's the mentality you really want to have. But I'm just saying, for me, I was like, enchiladas. So with enchiladas, I took and I had 1.1 pounds of 80/20 ground chuck. Okay. I just happened to pick that up at the store. That's all they had. They didn't have any like 73/27, which I probably would have done, but they had the ground chuck 80/20. And so I fried that up and I put a little bit of salt, a little bit of garlic, and mashed that up with, like, once I got it, once I was had it ground up pretty good, I took a potato masher, and just kind of finished off getting like a good, like a taco texture. You don't want too big of chunks when it comes to like taco meat. You want it fairly fine ground beef or beef mince, right? You want it fairly fine. And then then I took 2 teaspoons of chili powder, 2 teaspoons of cumin, a teaspoon of garlic, a teaspoon of onion powder, just a teaspoon, and just a dash of oregano. Just a little dash of oregano. I'm trying to think if that was it. Well, anyways, that was the dry spices. So okay, let me back up though. I apologize. That's not in the meat. I didn't add that to the meat. The meat is just a little bit of garlic, a little bit of salt. I browned that up. I set that aside. In a saucepan, I took 4 tablespoons of butter, melted it in a saucepan on kind of a low heat, and then I started to add in some whipping cream or some heavy cream. Okay. And I did it slowly, just added, and I think altogether I only used maybe a half a cup or something ish, maybe a cup. I don't know, but I just was kind of doing it by ear. I did that a little bit. I put 1 teaspoon of some organic chicken bouillon. Again, there's some chicken bouillon out there. It's not too bad. It doesn't have a whole lot of other garbage in it too much. But I didn't have any like chicken broth made up, or else I probably would just use a little bit of my homemade chicken broth, which is a little more gelatinous sometimes. But just 1 little teaspoon of chicken powder. But anyways, I mixed that up, and then I added in what I was telling you earlier, the 2 teaspoons of chili powder, cumin, and then the 1 teaspoon of garlic and onion, and just a little bit of smoked paprika. So I did that, blended that all in there real good, like mixed it all up, and just had this sauce. You know, it was an enchilada sauce, and it came out really good. I mean, it tasted just like enchiladas or anything, like, you know, something you could order at because like I said, the only thing I'm really omitting is like a tomato and a little dash of sugar, which I use in my recipe. And of course, I don't use the heavy whipping cream. I use lots of chicken broth. But so yeah, I just really kind of omitted the tomato and stuff like that, and the sugar. But I made this sort of creamy enchilada sauce. And what I did was I added a few spoons of that into the meat after I drained the meat. You want to drain the grease out of the meat. And you just keep adding a little bit of sauce until you get that right mixture. So I put basically and I'm not just trying to tell you how to do it step by step. You know, this is not really a recipe video, even though I want to tell you because some of you may want to know this. But anyways, when I put that meat down, then what I did is I actually took a bunch of pork rinds, threw them in the food processor, and I ground them up into like breadcrumbs, right? So I had a bunch of pork rind crumbs, and I sort of did a layer of those crunchy pork rind crumbs across the top. And then I put cheese, shredded cheese. I just had a little bit of shredded mozzarella and it was a mixture of, not mozzarella, it was a mixture of sharp cheddar and Monterey Jack. So, and here's what it looked like after I put it all on the plate. Now, I will say I did end up putting it in the microwave for like 40 seconds after that, because by the time I had served my family and I had, you know, done mine was sitting off to the side just a little bit too long. So it was a little too cool once I put everything together. So I threw it in the microwave for like 40 seconds. But I got to tell you, man, it was almost like eating. It had, you would take I used a spoon, and it was almost like eating, almost like spoons of, it reminded me of like eating a hard shell taco, right? Like if you had a hard shell corn taco or corn tortilla with some meat and cheese, that's kind of what it reminded me of, the overall flavors. There was just that little bit of crunch in there. It was really good. I really was impressed with myself on that one. I really was. I was like, man, this is a nice little enchilada bowl or whatever you want to put it in. But of course, I just spread out the meat on a plate, and I ate every bit of that 1.1 pounds of enchilada meat. So it was really good. And that brings me to one other point. And I know we're going to be crossing over into the 15-minute mark. Been trying to keep my videos under 15 minutes for you guys lately, but yeah, I give you guys amounts and frequencies of when I eat. You guys pretty much know every day when you watch my videos what I eat, how much I eat roughly. And I do that for a reason. And it's not because I'm telling you how much to eat and all that, or the frequency. Obviously, for your own carnivore sake, you need to eat how much you need to eat for you. You might fill up on, it may take you 2 pounds of meat, and you might eat 2 pounds of meat and say, hey, I'm full. And then you may not even eat for 2 days. And there's nothing wrong with that. you eat when you're hungry, right? You don't have to necessarily have a set time and a set amount and all this stuff. I just tell you guys when I'm eating. I'm just sharing because it's my diary. So I'm just letting you know that. Anyways, guys, I'm going to start to wrap it up a little bit. As far as how I felt, I did sleep quite a bit today. I started to get up and I stayed in bed. I wouldn't say I didn't have a lack of energy. I just was tired. I just needed to catch up. You get a lot of extra solid energy with carnivore, and when you do get some sleep, it's solid sleep. And sometimes it can be misleading in a way, I feel like, because was some nights in a row I was getting like 4 hours sleep, 4 hours sleep, 5 hours sleep, 2.5 hours sleep, 4 hours sleep. And even though the sleep was really solid and I had energy through the day, it's like it still's going to catch up to you. So today I got some sleep. I woke up, laid in bed. And of course, you guys know I sleep sitting up. So I was kind of sitting up there and I was playing one of my mobile games. And I fell back asleep while I was playing the game and slept for like another 3 or 4 hours. So I got some sleep. Poop info today was kind of sort of semi-solid, semi-loose. Like I said, it's going to happen. And, there's going to be times when, I'm taking in maybe a little more heavy cream or like a little more dairy. And then there's times I'm running a little more lean where I'm not really eating any more cheese and barely any cream or anything like that. So it's going to fluctuate. And I think that's okay, as long as you know you're within those bounds. But tomorrow's weigh-in, I'm going to report whatever the scale shows, whether it's good or bad. I feel good. I feel things are progressing. We'll just see how things go as we inch toward, day 45, the halfway point. So, all right, guys, we will see you later, and we will see you tomorrow for day 43. I hope you guys are still enjoying this and you're still enjoying everything. But I'm just going to keep vlogging and I do also want to say real quick, again, thank you guys for the additional testimonials and stuff that you've been putting on day 39 in the comments. Thank you. Keep them coming. I love it. So thank you guys so much.